California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association. Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell. Get ready for an adventure. Now let's set the stage. Right now I'm in an orange grove. There, the orange trees, the old farm equipment, the red carriage house, the windmill off in the distance there, and here to kind of set up exactly where we are and why this place is so historic. She's standing over here by the hitching post, ready to go. Introduce yourself to everybody, Valerie.
Hi, I'm Valerie De Lazaro, and I'm a founding member of Glendora Preservation Foundation. You are at Centennial Heritage Park in Glendora, about 25 miles outside of LA.
25 miles outside of LA. It's called the Glendora Centennial Heritage Park. And what does that mean?
Well, it's just a park that we built here to commemorate our history at our Centennial, and it is a working citrus ranch.
Your citrus history, because
Yes.
Glendora and all the area around here used to be a big citrus area.
Yes, it was. Everything around all of the neighboring area was all citrus at one time.
Well, now what you've done, you've got how many acres here?
5.
And you've got a lot of it planted in citrus, because I bet a lot of the kids here, a lot of the young people here don't even remember when this was a citrus area.
Oh, no, most of them have no idea at all. That's the reason we built it, so that the kids could come. Our 3rd grade curriculum is community history, so this is a way they can come for field trips and learn all about our history.
They come around and look at the citrus trees
yes.
and the old smudge pots and the old farm equipment. And this old house, the Hamilton house. Now, what's the deal on the Hamilton house?
Well, the house was given to us for $1 by Mrs. Hamilton Torf, and it was her home with her daughters for years and years and years. Well, she sold the property, but she didn't want to see her house be demolished. She heard about what we were doing and sold it to us for $1. We moved it over here so that it could be part of our ranch.
So this is kind of what a house in an orange grove would have looked like in the early days of Glendora.
Yes, this is it was built in about 1890, so this would have been right at the heyday of our citrus.
Would it have been painted red like this?
As far as we know, this house has been painted red all the time.
Good. All right, so you've stayed true to your history.
Yes, we try to do that, yes.
Well, we are delighted to be here. Now, I got to be honest with you. As beautiful as the Hamilton house is, and as much fun as it is to wander through the citrus groves and look at the smudge pots and the old tractors,
Yes.
you know that's not why we're here.
No, you're not. Something more important.
Yes, something much more important. And that's what this adventure is all about. We're going to another historic building here at Centennial Heritage Park, a very important building that is very much a part of California's gold. Okay, this is exciting. We've come only a few feet from the Hamilton house. We're still here on the Centennial Heritage Park. I've hooked up with Mike Peterson, who's also a member of the Glendora Preservation Foundation. And Mike, you're kind of low-key, but you've got to get me excited about what happened in this house, because I've heard that what happened right here in this little red shed years ago ranks with Henry Ford's car, Thomas Edison's light bulb, and Eli Whitney's cotton gin. In fact, it's just as important as those inventions. What happened? Let everybody know what happened right here in this little shed.
Well, Huell, this is where agriculture took a big turn with the invention of the action impulse sprinkler.
The action impulse sprinkler. Now, I know everybody at home now is just glued to the television set, because that you know, people are wondering what the heck you're talking about. Who did this and when did it happen?
Well, a Glendora resident, a citrus farmer named Orton Englehart, was looking for a better way to irrigate his orchard. So the ways of the time were flood irrigation or these crazy sprinklers that would break all the time.
So he needed a new sprinkler, a new idea for a sprinkler. Was he a tinkerer? Was he a kind of a, he liked to come up with inventions, didn't
Yep, he was a real tinkerer, and if he didn't know how to do something, he'd take a class or read a book, and took classes in metallurgy and learned how to build the sprinkler.
All right, so this sprinkler, and here's the plaque right here, the Rainbird Impact Drive Sprinkler Head, a historic landmark of agricultural engineering. The horizontal action impact drive sprinkler head was invented in this little shed, and this shed has been moved here as well as part of not only Glendora history, not only California history, but world history, because this invention changed the world, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Impact sprinklers are used all over the world.
All right, now we're going inside and take a look at what he's been talking about. Here we go. Okay, we're inside the little red shed, and Mike, the first thing you see when you walk in here is this bench filled with old sprinklers.
Yeah, this is Orton's workbench, and all this stuff is his sprinklers and prototypes that he had that we rescued from his ranch.
So this is all original stuff.
Yes, it is.
Old stuff, interesting stuff. It looks historic. None of it looks any more historic than this right here. And here to tell us about it, introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Alex Nathanson, Corporate Marketing Brand Manager for Rainbird.
Rainbird. Now, we're going to get into Rainbird in just a minute, but first off, look at this thing. Now, this is, I have no idea.
You're looking at a sprinkler, believe it or not.
An old sprinkler from...
that's from around sometime in the early 30s. That's Orton Englehart, the inventor of the original impact sprinkler, was playing around with different designs, trying to come up with something more efficient. And this is one of those that didn't make it.
So look at this thing up close. This is very interesting. How would this have worked?
Well, it's all driven by water pressure. So the water would come through and spin some of these things and shoot out of here and try to get it to rotate around, but it's very complicated.
Why didn't it work? Because it was too complicated?
Too complicated.
So he kind of dabbled around with this stuff for years and years, trying different shapes and sizes and configurations to try to figure out a way for farmers to be able to irrigate their fields.
Yep, he was looking for a more efficient way to water his citrus groves. And none of the sprinklers of the day did a great job. A lot of them would get stuck, they wouldn't rotate, they were constantly going out to adjust them, and he knew that there had to be some better way to do it.
And there was a better way of doing it, and we have it right here. This is it right here.
Yes.
Boy, you're chomping at the bits. You love this thing, don't you?
This is neat stuff.
This is it right here. Take a close-up look at this.
You're looking at a Rainbird Model 60. This is the very first production full-circle impact sprinkler that Rainbird ever made.
Now, when you say impact sprinkler, I'm not sure I like the noise.
Yeah. Well, you've probably heard that noise, that sound that everybody knows. That is the sound of Rainbird. That is the sound of an impact sprinkler going.
So is that what the word impact means?
Yep, exactly. You're doing it right now. The water would come out and would push this arm out, and then the spring would bring it back and make an impact, and that would rotate the sprinkler around.
The impact.
Yep.
So there's the name.
Exactly. That's where it came from, and incredibly simple. Just water pushing something, a spring bringing it back. So very few moving parts, very reliable, would just rotate around and irrigate your trees all day long.
But it took him years, and no one else in the world had figured this out before.
No, a lot of people tried, and you could see some of the complicated designs they came up with, but this was the one that stuck.
Now, this is one of the first. The first isn't here because you got it under lock and key.
The very, very first one we have a picture of here, but
right over here.
That is the prototype, and that was manufactured by Orton himself. He put together some old pieces of pipe. The spring came off of an old broom handle, and he rewound it to provide the drive. Cut a little piece of tin can to make the spoon just to test it out and see if it would work.
And you have that actual sprinkler, not here, but...
It is on the wall outside of the president's office in a glass-sealed case.
So it's like...
It's a one of a kind.
Serious history.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, now, so this was in
1933 was the very first one that was invented, and the patent was granted in 1935.
So he knew he was onto something. He got a patent right away.
Yeah, his neighbor Clem Lefebvre worked with Orton, and Clem encouraged Orton to file for the patent, and it was granted in April of 1935.
Okay, now we have a picture right over here of, now I didn't know his name. I wasn't familiar with it.
Yes, Clem Lefebvre and his wife, Mary Elizabeth.
They were neighbors.
They were neighbors.
Citrus farmers.
Absolutely.
And how did they get connected with all this?
Well, they were good friends. And Orton, one evening, summer evening in 1933, called up Clem and told him, hey, you've got to come by my workshop and check this out. I've invented a new sprinkler. So Clem came over, and they got an old lantern and went out behind this workshop, turned the thing on, and Clem thought it was the most ridiculous-looking thing he'd ever seen, but it worked, and it worked like a charm. So they filed for the patent. It was granted about a year and a half later.
And Orton?
Orton Englehart.
He didn't stay with this idea. This was just another invention to him.
Yeah, he was a citrus farmer at heart. So he wanted to go back to his citrus groves, and in the early days, it was a little tough. The farmers in the area, sort of laughed at these kids. What are you doing with these sprinklers? And it was a little tough getting started, and for a while there, they weren't sure if it was going to take off until one day Clem Lefebvre piled a bunch of these into his trunk of his old car and went down to the L.A. Country Club. He was going to all the farmers, but ended up at the L.A. Country Club. And the greenskeeper took one look at it and said, we'll blow that thing to pieces with our water pressure. They took it out to the golf course, hooked it up, and it worked like a charm. Didn't blow up, and was the most reliable, even watering thing they'd ever seen. And so they ordered 12 of them.
That was the beginning of the empire, the Rainbird empire that started with this little impact.
Yep, started right here in Glendora, and it's gone on to irrigate the world.
Okay, we're moving on through history because this is the next evolution of this sprinkler, and it looks a little more complicated. There's a lot more going on here. What's that all about?
Absolutely. Well, what you're looking at, what you're holding, is a prototype that Orton invented of a part circle impact sprinkler. So the very first one that he invented would spray water all the way around, 360. Exactly.
And that was a problem.
Well, it's a problem when you don't want to water everything in a full circle at the edge of your grove, or if you're near a house, you only want to water a portion of a circle. So he had to find a way to stop it from rotating all the way around into reverse direction. And that's exactly what you're looking at. Yep.
Wow, look at all of these wires, and I mean, this is definitely more complicated. It's amazing to think that he did this just out in the back of his shed here. He really didn't have any engineering background, did he?
No, he was just looking to solve a problem, and the problem was, how do I water more efficiently?
Next incarnation, and here it is. Right here, right, Alex?
Absolutely.
Now, these are beginning to kind of look all alike to me.
It looks similar, but it does something very important. And again, this is only a part circle. This is the refinement, and you can see the mechanism is a lot less complicated.
It's cleaned it up
Absolutely.
A lot, because this one had lots of springs and levers. There were lots of things that could go wrong with this thing.
Absolutely.
All right, so he just kept refining. He got on the right track. And this is very interesting right here, what Mike is holding. Now, from the outside, it looks like a
tobacco can.
A can.
Yep.
But it wasn't a can, because look what he did to the inside of the can.
Yeah, he put a sprinkler in there. And this was, again, trying to solve a problem. The impact sprinklers were all fixed sprinklers. They were above ground, so people could trip on them, and they're exposed to the elements. And he was looking for a way to take the sprinklers underground. So this was the very first pop-up sprinkler.
So wait a minute. He put the can, the coffee can, the tobacco can, in the ground.
Yep.
And this would, how would this work? Here, hold this and show me how it works.
Well, see,
it would pop up.
Yep, the water pressure would come in from the bottom. And that water pressure would cause the sprinkler to raise up just enough so that it would spray out. And when it was done rotating and spraying, it would drop back down out of sight.
Wow. Yep. So it all started with a tobacco can, a coffee can.
Yep.
And all of this stuff, you've got all these cases and all these shelves filled with stuff, and all of it is original to what Orton was doing all those years.
Yes, it is. It's all from the 30s, from his original ranch.
Did he just keep all this stuff just for nostalgia? Why did he keep it all?
He never threw anything away. He just stored everything and kept everything because he may need to use it some other time.
Yeah, this is a real treasure trove, isn't it?
Absolutely.
This should be in the Smithsonian or something.
It may be someday.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, most people don't think about sprinklers. They go off at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning when we're all tucked away in our beds. So you don't think about sprinklers, much less that there's a museum where you can go look at some of this stuff.
Now let's bring it all the way up to today, because here, hold up the first one. This is Rainbird number 60, and you say that with reverence, don't
This
you?
is the Model 60. This is the very first production model that the Rainbird ever sold.
And here is today's.
Yep. That is a Model 70, and that is a current production model.
So it hasn't changed that much.
And you can see there's some refinements in there, but the basic product hasn't changed at all. The basic design.
He knew what he was doing.
Yep, 75 years, and hasn't really changed.
Rainbird is such a wonderful name for a sprinkler. How did they come up with the name Rainbird?
Well, the story's a little fuzzy, but from what I understand, they were looking for a name of the company, and
this new company that came out of nowhere. So they're three of them sitting around talking about this new company. What are we going to call it? We got a patent. What are we going to call the company?
Well, there's an ancient Indian legend about some children, some Indian children who were suffering from a horrible drought, and their cries were heard by this ancient Indian bird that brought rain to them. And that, plus the kind of bird-like appearance, it sort of looks like a bird, and obviously brings the rain. So that was the origin of the name Rainbird.
So literally, the three of them just sat around and came up with this name.
Yeah, it may have been suggested by their local school teacher here in Glendora, as I think she's the one who recommended that Indian story or brought that idea up to them.
But it could have been named anything.
It could have been, but Rainbird stuck, and as a matter of fact, the impact sprinkler, a lot of people still call them Rainbirds.
You know what? This whole story is so interesting because the whole thing is improbable in a way, isn't it? That all of this revolutionary sprinkler was started by a guy in his back shed who was a citrus farmer who was just kind of trying to improve the way he watered his trees.
Yeah, and remember, this is a depression, so people were very inventive. They were trying to solve problems and didn't have a lot of resources, just had some ingenuity and came up with a better way.
Now here's what I want to bring up to everybody. This should be a shrine. There should be people waiting in line to come in this place.
Well, we're the best kept secret in Glendora, and for that matter, most of California.
Well, you should have people coming here from all over the world. This is revolutionary.
Well, we think so. We just can't seem to get the word out.
Well, now wait a minute.
Yeah, we're hoping you've done that for us.
We're getting the word out.
Yes,
We're going to put on the screen when you're open.
Thank
you.
you.
If people have questions, we'll put your home telephone number down there. And people should come, and it's a real simple little place. There's nothing high-tech or complicated about it, is there?
Not at all. Just an old dirt road you drive down to, and you can get here really easy.
And a little red shed.
Yes, yes.
Nothing high-tech, which really reflects kind of what Orton was all about as well. It's simple, just like he was.
Yep, that's the way it was done back in the 30s.
Well, we say simple like he was, uncomplicated like he was, but his tinkering, his experimenting, all the work that he did right here in the front and in the back of this shed literally revolutionized watering all over the world.
Absolutely.
Yes, an incredible man.
Incredible place.
Well, thank you. We think so.
Come on down and see it. It's sitting right here. Let's step out of the way. Here's the little red shed. This is where history was made. It's a landmark waiting for people to visit and enjoy and soak up the history. Now it gets exciting. We have left the red shed at the Centennial Heritage Park. We've come just a few miles. We're still in Glendora at the Glendora Country Club because, Alex, the one thing we had not done at the shed was actually watch these old sprinklers work. So what have we set up right here, and this is history in the making.
Well, what we have here is a Rainbird Model 65 from the 1930s, and this is one of the very first part circle impact sprinklers.
Okay, part circle, because this is the one that doesn't go 360 because we didn't want to get soaking wet here.
Exactly.
Hopefully it's set up to spray out that way.
We'll find out in a minute.
And hopefully it works, because you don't use these a lot. This is history right here.
This has been sitting in Orton's workshop for about 70 years.
We had to get special dispensation to borrow it to bring it over here to the country club.
Yep, and
we have our fella right up here. Give us the water. Let's see if it...
Okay.
Oh, boy. Oh boy, there it goes, and there's that sound. I'm going to get the mic right over here, because that's the definitive sound of these sprinklers, isn't it?
That's the sound of Rainbird irrigation.
All right, let's go over here. Come on in. We know it's not going to get over here to us. Come on over here, Alex, because this is interesting looking at the way this thing works. This is the spring system right here.
And this is exactly the same technology that Orton came up with. The spoon arm hits that water stream and it pushes it out of the way, and the spring brings it back.
Boy, the wind is blowing the water on us, but boy, it's a simple thing to watch. But
Stand back right now, because it's about to do the part circle action. When it hits the end, it trips a little lever, and then there it goes.
There it goes back.
It turns all the way back. That simple invention saved countless gallons of water, because you no longer had to water areas you didn't want to. If you had it on the edge of a fairway, the edge of your crops, the edge of a house, you weren't going to hit buildings anymore. You're only putting the water where you want it to go.
Wow, look at this. This is just beautiful, and knowing that it's coming out of one of the original sprinklers. Let's get up close to it one more time. We got time to get over here now and take a look at it, because this is the system right here, the way the spring hits the water.
Yep, and that little impact sound, that impact is what's driving it around in a circle.
We're getting ready to get soaked. Here we go. There it goes. It's hot. I like this.
It feels great on a hot day.
But this is it. This is old school. Come on down here a minute. We got the groundskeeper, the superintendent. What's your title here?
I'm the golf course superintendent.
The golf course superintendent. This is old school right here.
Yes, I am not old enough to have seen this operate, actually.
You've never seen anything like this
Correct.
on the golf course, have you?
No, I have not. I'm used to the pop-up rotors, the new plastic.
The newfangled stuff. Well, what do you think about this?
Oh, it operates. It's a way
Is that all you can say?
It's a way to water turf, which is what we do here.
Yeah, but it's old school.
Correct.
Yeah. Did you know the story about the guy who lived here in Glendora who invented this?
Actually, I did not.
You didn't know it? See, a lot of people don't know it.
No, they've got to head out and check out Orton's workshop.
Yeah, this is great. Let's just look at it one more time, because it's getting ready to do its... There it goes. It's so simple, and yet it was so revolutionary in its time. It changed the way we watered all over the world. Okay, it sure makes a statement. We're ending up here on the golf course at the Glendora Country Club. These are all your present-day pop-up underground sprinklers.
Yep, you're looking at some Rainbird golf rotors. These are Eagle 700s, and this is the state-of-the-art in water-efficient irrigation for golf courses.
All right, golf courses, and then you got the smaller version that pops up and down. These are for... Boy, it's hard to get them open on the spring, but the water pushes them up, doesn't it?
The water pushes them up. The spring makes sure it doesn't stay up while you're mowing your lawn.
So
they pop down when they're done.
And then it pops down.
Yep, and the technology, all the technology is in that nozzle right there. So this lays out water very efficiently. It uses a lot less water than we used to.
It's all about efficient use of water in today's California. And talk about efficiency, you got the model of it. Oh boy!
As you can see, we're in range of the Eagles here.
All right, let's talk about what we got right here.
Well, when you're watering, part of it is the sprinkler itself, but the other part is how you control it and when is it going to run, how long is it going to run. And this is a brand new product from Rainbird. It has a weather station that you put in your yard. So the technology we developed in the 70s for golf courses has made it to your own backyard now. So this little weather station goes out in your on your fence, maybe in your backyard, and it measures the rainfall, has a little tipping rain bucket inside. It keeps track of the temperature and a bunch of other weather factors. And then this controller takes the data from this and it will adjust how much you're watering. So it will raise and lower your water based on the plant needs.
And you can do that in your own yard now.
Yep, this technology is available for the home.
Isn't this interesting how far we've come? Now, this isn't a commercial for Rainbird, but Rainbird is a California company based, always has been, right here in Azusa and in
Glendora.
In Glendora.
Yep.
So the company is still here, and the other kicker about the company, as big as it is, and isn't it the biggest sprinkler company in the world?
Yeah, Rainbird is the world leader in irrigation.
Wow.
Yep.
The kicker is that the company is still...
Well, it's still run by the son of the original founders. Clem and Mary Lefebvre's son, Anthony, or Tony Lefebvre, is our president today.
So the son of the original couple who bought this, who were the neighbors of...
Orton Englehart's neighbors. They helped get the whole thing started, and it's still run by the Lefebvres today.
Stayed in the family.
Absolutely.
Wow, this is fascinating. What a wonderful California story. And it's about something that I think a lot of us are guilty of taking for granted, the sprinkler systems. It's kind of part of life, but there's a real rich story about how it all started and about how it's evolved into what it is today.
Yeah, it's all about using water more efficiently. And as you know, you've done a show on, or a number of shows on our precious water resources.
Yeah.
And we care a lot about that at Rainbird. And our technology is just another tool you can use, so you don't have to give up beautiful green spaces and farms, all the things that we have that are from, Orton's original invention.
Wow, well said. It all started with that man back in his little shed, his little red shed here in Glendora. Thank you so much. This has been a real history lesson, I think, for all of us. We've gotten wet along the way, but that's okay.
A little bit.
It's with historic water out of historic sprinklers. We've seen the old, we've seen the new. It's all part of Rainbird, these wonderful sprinklers that are very much a part of California's gold. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and I sure hope you enjoyed our Rainbird adventure. Here in California, it's all about the water. And if you'd like to go on this adventure again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, well, it's available on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.